Welcome to the Wise and Happy Life podcast, where ancient wisdom meets modern science, and mindfulness, philosophy, and happiness practices blend with neuroscience, compassion, and common sense. Hosted by Bob Martin, meditation mentor, happiness coach, trial lawyer, and entrepreneur. This podcast explores how to live with grace, presence, and purpose in a complex world.
Hey, hello, good people, and welcome to another episode of A Wise and Happy Life. And as you know, I always like to start off with a little saying or a little story to set the mood for the podcast and for our guest. And I can't help in this case to think of a biblical quote from Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 2. Eyes that don't see, ears that don't hear, because, and I'm paraphrasing it, because the wonders of God are unknowable and unseeable. And so today we have a guest that I am truly honored to have on the podcast. She has a BA in psychology, and she got a Master's of Divinity at Princeton. And she did this all after, at the age of 9, she became blind. She's an author. She's a keynote speaker. She's the founder of Ubi Global, which helps other people overcome challenges. Truly honored to have Laura Bratton in the studio with us today, or at least on Zoom here. Laura, say hi, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited.
So tell us a little bit about your story. I mentioned that at 9 years of age, you went from sighted to sightless.
So I'll make a very long story short, and then we can
Okay.
take it from there. Growing up in the South and being in the South, we
South
can
Carolina,
tell
right?
yes, long stories, right?
Mhm.
So, as you mentioned, I was diagnosed at the age of 9 with an extremely rare retinal disease. So, even 30 years later, there's not a direct diagnosis or the gene has not been discovered that caused the blindness. Even though I was diagnosed at 9, I didn't start experiencing major vision loss until I was a teenager. So, from the emotional perspective, I just continued on with my 9-year-old life just as it was. It wasn't until those high school years, the 4 years of high school, when I would lose a significant amount of sight and then it would plateau for a while, and then I'd lose another significant sight and then it would plateau. So by the end of high school, I had the vision that I have now, which is no vision, very, very limited light perception. So during those high school years, going through that traumatic adversity, I had to completely relive life and learn how to live life without sight in a sighted world.
Hmm. And at such a important epic in our lives, right?
Right. That's what made it that much harder.
The social aspects, emotional aspects, and the like. You know what you're saying really, really is touches my heart, because um, it's not like it's an accident. It happens all at once, and then all of a sudden you're presented with this reality. It's kind of like a little at a time. Like how?
Yes. And again, that's the both and. It was so incredibly difficult because it did happen a little bit at a time. That made the grieving process ongoing. I knew even though I wasn't currently losing more vision, at some point I would lose more vision. So it wasn't the trauma of waking up one day and not having sight, yet it was the trauma of losing sight and constantly knowing I would lose more.
It seems well, it doesn't seem. It is unimaginable. I mean, so many of us, have downtimes in our lives. We get overwhelmed by our jobs. We have divorces. We have split ups and the like. But this just seems like a whole different level. I wonder, when people hear your story, um, what do they ask you? What do they mostly ask you? What kind of comments do they make? What is the typical response, other than, "Oh, I'm so sorry"?
The typical response that comes from absolutely everyone, regardless of age, regardless of any factors you want to give, the exact response is, I could never do it.
Uh-huh.
That's the
Yeah,
initial response from everyone. I could never do what you've done.
and how does that map on to you? Because you did it.
'Cause my response is, I didn't think I could either. I, you think you can't until you absolutely have to. I didn't have a choice, right? Like, if I wanted
Yeah.
to continue to live, I had to figure it out. And my mom remembers and talks about the story of a few years before I was diagnosed, or not, I guess not around the diagnosis, but when I started losing a significant amount of sight, she remembers a few years before reading an article in a magazine about a man who lost his sight as an adult. And she said, I remember reading, I don't know how he did it. That was just the initial reaction. And then a few years later, she became a parent of a child losing her sight. And you just do it day by day, moment by moment. So my response is, I didn't think I could do it either. And so the way we did it, me as an individual and us as a family, was day by day, moment by moment. It was absolute survival
Mhm. And over time.
over time. Right.
Yeah. I don't wanna make light of it, but my dad was born in 1898, and somewhere around 1985, I asked him what it was like to have lived all through, outdoor plumbing till people walking on the moon. And he looked at me and he goes, "Ah, it all happened kinda slowly."
That is a great response.
You know? So, you think that you can't do it. How can you live 85 years? Like, how can you live 95 years? But you do it a day at a time.
You do it a day at a time. Like, how can you go from, like you said, no plumbing to indoor plumbing? It
Yeah.
just, you do it a day at a time. Absolutely.
So what else do people ask you when once they get over, "I couldn't do it"? What do they ask you?
Once the initial, I couldn't do it, it's the next question. And this is, I found this across the board. It's a specific theme, it's not a specific question. And what I mean by that is they typically ask me, how do you do fill in the blank? And that's what they're wondering, how in the world would I do blank if I lost my sight?
Oh,
So again, I
like, how
know
do you how do
that
you
that may not
read
sound
or
very clear, but what I mean by that, it's not a direct, like I said, that first question, it was always the exact same question. The next question is not, what they ask is not the same. The theme is the same. They all ask me, how do you do fill in the blank? And it's what they're wondering, how in the world they would never do it without sight.
and immediately you have some idea of something at least that is important to them.
Right. 100%. Yes, in 2 30 seconds, I can read what's most important to them. Yeah.
Wow, that's something. So how do you do
That's the point of this podcast, right?
well, it is the point of this kind. So, the question, I guess, comes down to, um, kind of bringing it down to our everyday lives. Um, like I say, we all have, things that we struggle with, that we suffer with, and the like. And except for the intensity, the process is, I'm guessing, the process of facing difficulty um, is pretty much the same in that not everybody deals with it in the same way,
Right.
right?
The
See,
emotional reaction is exactly the same. The change that we experience is different, but the process of experiencing all the range of emotions, that's the similar human experience. The
Hmm.
sadness, the anger, the doubt, the fear, all those range of emotions, that's the commonality within change.
Mm. You know, Harry Seligman, who is called the father of positive psychology, was given a great award for doing this terrible experiment where he put dogs on a shock pad and surrounded them with glass so they couldn't escape. And he shocked them until they learned that they were helpless. And then he took away one of the glass panes so all they needed to do to escape the shock was step over the barrier. And they didn't because they had learned that they were helpless. And then one day, he was studying kids in the inner city. I really am getting to something. He was studying kids in the inner city, and he noticed that in spite of all of the problems and all of the difficulties, there were a few that seemed to have enough resilience that they worked their way out of it. That they gave themselves what you call grit and gratitude, and they worked through it. But so many don't. And
Yes.
My question, I guess, the how do you do it question is, I am sure that you've come across other folks who have lost their sight and have bowed to it.
Yes.
And what's the difference?
To me, in my experience, the difference is the support that we have around us.
Ah,
And what I mean by that is if that support around us is either pitting us, teaching us to be victim, or that support around us is teaching us, as you said, that we can have that resiliency and keep going. So the gift for me that in those high school years, as I am so depressed and constantly living in a state of panic because the blindness and the grief was so overwhelming, the support around me was saying to me through their actions, you can keep going. You are still you, you just can't see as well. And again, a tangible example, what do I mean by this? It was my parents who every day would say, Laura, yes, the future is overwhelming. We don't know the future. What we know for today is that we just have to take it moment by moment. So getting up, getting breakfast, and getting to high school on time, that's an accomplishment for you. That's a huge accomplishment that you are now learning how to do without sight. Accomplish that, and the day's been successful. Get to lunch, and the day's been successful. So having that support, and also what that support looks like, I laugh now, but the gift of normalcy. So I have one older brother who's 5 years older. And as I'm going through this process, he continued to treat me as that little annoying sister that he just wanted to disappear off the face of the earth,
uh-huh,
right? Like I
uh-huh.
drove him crazy. He didn't baby me. He didn't all of a sudden start pitting me. He didn't all of a sudden let me start winning the basketball games in the driveway. Like he didn't feel sorry for me. And
Hmm.
at the time, I would tell him, "You are so mean. Like, how can you not feel sorry for me? How can you not just hand me the basketball and give me free shots?" And now I realize that's the greatest gift he could have given me
Mm.
because he continued to treat me normal with, of course, obviously accommodations are made, but yet just treating me as that normal little annoying sister, that taught me, Laura, you can't use blindness as an excuse. It is what it is. It's a major adversity you've experienced. How are you going to adapt and move forward? It was the friends who just continued to talk about our favorite music and go to our favorite restaurants and just continue to be my friends because we'd always been friends. They didn't immediately start treating me different because of the blindness. It was the teachers who made accommodations where I needed accommodations. So I had that support from family, from friends, from teachers that, again, not through their words, but through their actions said, we believe in you. You
Hmm.
can keep going with accommodations made. So to me, again, in my own life experience, that was the difference. Rather than me falling into victim or falling into woe is me, I can't go on, I was empowered with resources to keep going.
They became your teachers.
100%. 100%.
Hmm. So when you see someone who has come up against a life-changing ability like this, and they didn't have and they bowed to it, as I said before, they have um, become angry, sad, all of those things, and living certainly not a happy life, if not a miserable life. How do you feel? I mean, some folks look at those and feel they become judgmental, like, he should pick himself up by his bootstraps, he should do this, he should take care of himself, he should have more guts, he da 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 da. But what you're saying is it's not about them, it's about the support that was around them. How do you feel when you run into somebody like that? What are the thoughts that you have?
Compassion. Compassion and appreciation. And what I mean by that, compassion for the person. And what I mean by appreciation is appreciation for the support that I had, for the support that I had for those people that believed in me. So rather than thinking, gosh, what's their problem? Tell them to get over it, just get over it and keep going. It's just compassion. Like, that's just their situation. It's not judgment, it's just compassion for where they are. And then that's what I mean by the appreciation of having that deep respect and gratitude for the support around me who empowered me to keep going, who pointed out those gifts rather than focusing 100% on the blindness.
Mm. On your website, and you have two words that are real important to you: grit and gratitude. Um, and some of that, of course, is resident in all of us. All of us have some grit and some gratitude. But I think that what you're getting at here is that these things can be learned, and that your teachers help you to refine, maybe not learn from scratch, but like going from first grade to sixth grade and then to high school, in terms of having grit, that these can be learned, and you learn it from your environment and the teachers and the support that you have.
I completely agree that we all have it. And then it's the support around us, the people around us, the teachers around us that sharpen those tools. That, because it's just as you mentioned, first grade to sixth grade to high school, all three levels were in different emotional developmental stages. So having someone to guide us and shape us as we go through each stage. So that perfectly applies to change, that we have to develop that grit and gratitude even more when we go through change.
So, like if I go out to learn, say, to play tennis, um, I have to be taught, and I have to be told how to how to hold the grip, and how to make a forehand, a backhand, that kind of thing. But if I go out and I practice enough, it becomes second nature. We call it muscle memory, right? Um, you made a comment, I think, I don't remember when, but that there's something about gratitude. There's a difference between intellectual gratitude and gratitude that's actually embodied, actually um, felt. And I think that that's true for a lot of us, that we say, "Oh yeah, I'm grateful for that," and they kind of understand. We kind of understand. I'm grateful that somebody paved the road. I'm grateful that that I can turn on a switch and I get light,
Yeah.
and the like. But what is the difference between understanding gratitude that way and actually feeling it?
So, as you're describing, it can be gratitude can be cognitive, or as you say, gratitude can be embodied. And I think the difference comes with practice and with our life experience. So, again, just as you gave that analogy of tennis, and over time, the practice, it just becomes muscle memory. That's when we embody gratitude. As we practice it, it becomes embodied, not just cognitive. Of course, at the beginning, as we're learning practice of gratitude, it will be cognitive, right? Because it's new to us. We're not, it's just not familiar. But as we get deeper into it, we learn that it's a source of strength. It's a source of healing. So I'd love to share how I made that transition from what you described, the cognitive to the muscle memory.
Please. Oh, please, please, please,
So,
please.
first of all, I did not wake up one day and say, I am so grateful to be blind. This blindness is a great thing. I recommend it for everyone, everybody. Let's all try it. Gratitude all started by a conversation with a mentor. So is towards the end of high school, and I was talking to a mentor, and she said, Laura, I want you to start practicing gratitude. And every day I want you to write down 3 things, people, places, situations from that day that you're grateful for. And I want it to be very specific from that day so that you don't repeat. And being from the South, what did I do as a teenager? I smiled and nodded and said, okay, thank you. In my head, I'm thinking, that's not good advice. You are not a good mentor. Because I was thinking, I don't have anything to be grateful for. I'm not feeling very grateful as I'm depressed, as I have deep panic attacks, as I'm adjusting to life without sight. I'm just not grateful. So, in my pure stubbornness, I was determined to prove her wrong and show her I don't have anything to be grateful for. So I did. And the one day became 3 days. And the 3 days became a week. And a week became a month. And what I realized was she was not teaching me be grateful for anything, everything, all the time, be happy, be positive, be cheerful. Rather, she was teaching me embody gratitude and be grateful for what helps you navigate through the change. So, a very tangible example, she wasn't saying, wake up and be grateful that you're blind. She was saying, wake up and be grateful that you have a brother who still treats you like his little sister. Be grateful that you have parents who are instilling in you how to live moment by moment. Be grateful that you have a guide dog that helps you navigate the world. So that's how gratitude became real for me and embodied for me, was that became a lifestyle, a practice of not
Mm.
just thinking about things I was grateful for, but truly becoming aware of, yes, this is really, really hard. Yes, this is really, really difficult. Yes, I would change it if I could. And this is what I'm grateful for that helps me navigate through the change.
And how do you relate gratitude to happiness?
I experience, again, for me personally, I experience happiness as I practice gratitude. So happiness does not just come when everything is going well, right? In my experience and what life has taught me is that I don't have to wait to feel happy. I don't have to wait to be happy. When I practice gratitude and truly embody it, that brings the happiness. That brings those happy feelings regardless of the circumstances.
Mm. I think Brother David Standel Rast, Rast, who has a wonderful website called gratefulness.org.
Yes.
It's all about gratefulness. And he once said, um, we're not grateful because we're happy. We're happy because we're grateful.
I love his work. I've studied his work so much, and I used his work as I was writing my book. And I could not agree with that statement more. That has 100% been my lived experience.
That's wonderful. So, through all of this, this is, I'm doing a podcast. We often have guests who have gone through some struggle and come out of it and now want to share it with others and literally get their lives from the sharing. Even in Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, the 12th step is, now that you've had a revelation and liberation, go out and teach it to others.
Yeah.
And so, how does that map on? Is that an accurate?
Yes. And that's the whole reason that I wrote my book, that I speak, that I created the organization for speaking coaching. My passion, my desire is to share and to be that support that I received. So, just as I share with you, I was able to build that resiliency by having support around me. I want to spend my life being that support to others to help them develop their resiliency. So, again, a tangible example, I wrote my book not just for people who are becoming blind, losing their sight. That's not the point at all. The point is for all of us navigating change. That as we go through that change, we can all use the resources of grit and of gratitude to navigate through, and so that we build that resiliency to keep going.
Tell us a little bit about your book.
So I want to talk about the title. I
Okay.
love talking about the title. So it was
Okay.
very, very deliberate. So I'll share a little about the title and then I'll talk about the book. So the reason that I named it Harnessing Courage was to honor and to respect and to offer gratitude to the two guide dogs that I've had. So
Hmm.
I had one guide dog. I got my first guide dog I got in between high school and college. So the few months between the two. And I had her for about 11 years. And then I got my second guide dog and had her also for about 11 or 12 years. And then she died about a year ago. So I
Hmm.
wrote this book while I had my second guide dog. So the leather strap that goes around the dog, and then the end of that strap is the handle that the person holds. That's called the harness. So it took a lot of courage for me to hold that harness and trust. They were both like 60-pound female black labs. It took a lot of courage for me to trust that harness and that dog to literally be my eyes.
Wow.
So
You never
just
think of, it's one of those things that you just never think of. You never think, you just assume, when we see a guide dog, you just assume the guide dog's trained, the owner trusts it, it's all good, no problem. But of course, I mean, the dog is going to be your eyes. You're holding on to a leash. If he sees a cat or something and takes off, oh my gosh, what a catastrophe. And yet,
right.
yeah, I never even thought
Exactly.
about that.
Yeah, it sounds like you said, it sounds so simple. Oh, just grab the leash, hold the harness, and go, right? But yes, it takes so much courage for me to trust again that little black lab to literally be my eyes, to keep me safe as I navigate the world. So
Wow.
again, they did for the both dogs for all the years that I had them. I never stumbled, I never tripped, I never fell. Like it was intense gratitude for what they gave me. So out of respect, I named it Harnessing Courage, but then through the book, also the reason on that with just kind of the play on words was it takes all of us. We have to harness a lot of courage as we navigate through change. So the point of the book is to be a resource. The point is not to be a step by step, do this and you'll be fine as you navigate through change. The point is a resource that as we all go through so many different types of changes, we can use these resources that I use to help us navigate through. So in each chapter, I'm constantly turning around to the reader and say, how does this apply to your life? How does accepting and adjusting to the new normal, how does that apply to you? So again, the as I shared, the passion was to be that support to others that I received.
Well, bless you for that. Whatever came of the Masters of Divinity?
So after I finished that degree, I did a chaplain, or I said it backwards. I did a residency in chaplaincy, and then I completed my ordination in the United Methodist Church and serve as a pastor in a local church. So
Oh, wow, cool.
that degree, I cannot even put into words how healing that degree was, because I was able to put together the mind body spirit connection. As I focused on psychology in undergrad to focus on theology and the study, the academic study of theology, it was such a gift to understand and to live both academically and personally how we heal on so many levels at the same time. And one is not disconnected from the other, that they're all intertwined together.
So true. Um, would you do something with me? I
Absolutely.
just this is throw it on out there. Matter of fact, it came to me this coming weekend. Um, we have an adult Sunday school. I go to a very progressive church, and it's called the Seekers, where no question is disallowed.
Awesome.
And we have some pretty good discussions. Um, and so we finished a book, and we had an open weekend, and I was asked if I would lead the class. So I'm thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I came up with this acronym, and I would like to go through the acronym with you and get your thoughts on these words.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the acronym is GRACE,
Okay.
GRACE.
Right.
Okay. And the first one you're going to be pretty familiar with because it's gratitude. Gratitude and generosity.
Ooh, love it.
Yeah. And so it's for me, gratitude. Well, I don't even have to. I literally am preaching to the choir here. Uh, but gratitude and generosity, especially because it takes us away from a sense of paucity. It
Yes.
gives us and makes us puts us in a world of abundance when
Yes.
we can be generous of spirit, generous of thought, generous uh, of physical uh,
Time. Yeah.
being, time, and the like. Your thoughts?
Generosity is my first thought is generosity is healing. And what I mean by that is when we can get to that place of being grateful and then wanting to share that gratitude, as you were saying, through our times, through our talents, through so many different ways, being generous is deeply healing.
Hmm.
Because again, we're sharing with others what has benefited us. We're not sharing, hopefully, what hasn't worked for us or what has pulled us down. We're being generous and sharing what has empowered us.
Hmm.
So I see and love how those two are perfectly connected. As we're grateful, it makes us generous. And
And
as
as
we're
we're
generous, it makes us more
just
grateful.
grateful,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
The R is for reflection. And by that, I mean not just seeing the surface, but taking the time to see deeply. Your thoughts?
yes. My thoughts on that is again, reflection is a healing resource, and I'll make it specific to when we go through change. As we're going through change, when we stop and reflect all that we've been through and the strength that we have developed to navigate through, it gives us hope to keep going. It gives us empowerment to keep going. So I completely agree that reflecting not just on the surface level, but on the deep level, reflecting of what we've been through and how we got through it gives us hope, gives us empowerment, gives us generosity. Circling back to the D.
Okay. The A. The A is for awareness, in that we become aware of the things that we make important to us. Just like if I get a new Chevy, all of a sudden I see Chevys everywhere because I become aware of them because they become important to me. So the more I make important, the more aware I am, and the more becomes important until I can love all of God's creation.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
For me, I think awareness is extremely important, specifically now when we have so much social media, technology. We have so many different, endless places that we can put our time and attention and focus. We can be so distracted. I can't remember off the top of my head how the seconds that our attention span is now has decreased so much over the different generations. So, our awareness of what you said, focusing on what is important, again, that's deeply healing. Because as we focus on what is important to us, that awareness grows. And that's healing because we can so easily be distracted and pulled down by different thoughts, feelings, perspectives. So just being aware for us as individual, keeping the main thing the main thing.
Hmm. The C is for compassion. Your thoughts?
Oh, I love, love, love compassion. So the word compassion literally means suffering with.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because that means we're together supporting one another. It's not, oh, you're going through that problem. That's terrible for you. Good luck. Rather, it's that compassion literally suffering with. So the other thing that comes to mind that I definitely want to focus on is the self compassion and the compassion for
Yes.
others.
Yes. Yes.
So, what I mean by the self compassion is it is so easy for me to get in that mindset of, why are you anxious? Why are you worked up? Why are you fearful? Why are you depressed over that? Da, 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 da. And I'm constantly comparing myself to people who are sighted. And I forget it's totally different playing fields, it's totally different worlds, literally, and mindsets. So, learning and developing that self compassion was a strength that I had to build because I have to be compassionate to myself. I have to be compassionate and validate those feelings and then choose to move forward. And also, self compassion, I've learned again through teachers, through mentors, looks like treating myself like I would treat others. I would never talk to my best friend the way I talk to myself in my head, right? But yet when I talk to myself in my head like I would my best friend is great. So
Yeah.
developing that self compassion then helps me, again, circling back to your word of generosity, helps me to be generous and offer compassion in the world.
Wow.
So I love, love, love that you chose compassion
Compassion.
because it's both self compassion and then offering that compassion to the world.
And in this world of ours where we almost are taught to feel guilty about thinking too much of ourselves or not
Yeah.
taking care of ourselves,
Yes.
I have a little different take on the second great commandment, where the Lord said, to love your neighbor as yourself. He didn't say like yourself, he said as. So I think the commandment there is to love yourself.
Yes.
Because if you're going to love others as you love yourself, if you are highly self critical, you would love your neighbor by being highly self critical.
Right.
So, first, we have to work on ourselves and love us the way God loves us in order to be able to love our neighbors.
Oh,
But,
I
but,
100% agree.
and the last E is for engagement. because that's where the rubber hits the road. Without engaging, everything else is just a mental exercise.
Right. Again, it goes back to I immediately think of the awareness. Because we have so many distractions today in the world and so much going on at one time, it's easy to disengage. It's easy to be independent or closed off or not engaged with others. And that engagement starts with ourselves, being engaged with our thoughts, being aware, as you mentioned, and reflecting on how are we feeling? How are we doing? What is our mental state? Are we engaged with ourselves? Then, as we are engaged with ourselves, having that ability and capacity to be engaged with those around us, those that we love, just the world that we're a part of.
Yeah. Wow. Well, time's getting a bit short, but I think that you have a website, and that would be at
LauraBratton.com.
laurabratton.com, right? laurabratton.com. And I've gone to your website, and Laura is available for a phone call. If it's just a phone call you need, if it's just a word that you need, she's available for that. She's also available for coaching and speaking. I've seen some of your speeches on your website. You should go to her website and listen to some of the videos that are there. They're so engaging. You're going to grow to be her friend just through the videos. So thank you so much, Laura. It's been an honor to have you. Thank you for sharing your life, your story, your thinking, your philosophy, your time, and yourself.
Thank you. I so appreciate this opportunity.
Okay. Be well. Oh, and if you want to leave everybody, by the way, I did write a blog on this idea of grace. And so if you want to read more about grace or my interpretation of the acronym, just go to my website and catch the blog. Go to Laura's and catch hers. And thanks for being here. And we'll see you on the next time.